Let's just say I asked the class to measure how wide their front door is. Everyone would go off and find a way to measure their front door. Do you think that everyone would use the same tool? Do you think everyone would go and get a tape measure? Or would some kids use a ruler? Or would some kids use a yardstick or a meter stick? There's many different units that you could use to find the width of the front door. Measuring carefully is really important. If some people did not put their yardstick or their ruler or their tape measure down straight, and some did, they'd probably have a different measurement. How precise you decide to make your measurement could also account for differences in measurement. Some people may have measured to the whole inch, and some may have measured to the half inch. Some may measure to centimeters. If one person measures in meters and centimeters and one person measures in just inches, we can't really tell whether our measurements are the same. Sometimes people want to have their measurements in one unit and sometimes in a different unit, depending on what they need it for. For example, we usually talk about height in feet and inches. Speaking of measuring, I had to measure the time that my asparagus was in the oven, so excuse that little alarm. So, measuring length, it really depends on what you need it for. So, if I were to go to the fabric store because I need to buy fabric, which is actually true, to recover my sister's chairs in her dining room, I need to buy a certain amount of fabric, but they sell it in yards. So, if I go to the store and say I need 400 centimeters of fabric, they need to change the amount or the units into yards so that they can charge me for the right amount and cut the right amount for me. Sometimes people want to have their measurements in one unit and sometimes in a different unit, depending on what they need it for. For example, we usually talk about height in feet and inches. So if someone were to ask me how tall I am, I usually don't say, oh, I'm 136 inches or whatever. I usually say feet. And if I have more than feet, I include the inches. What if someone needs to know my height in inches? Depending on the purpose of measuring, you might measure feet and inches or in all inches. Or if you were using the metric system, you might measure in all centimeters or meters and centimeters. We are going to practice converting measurements within the US standard system or within the metric system. You're going to convert some measurements you made of objects in your home or in a pretend classroom for now. You're going to convert them from feet or yards to inches and from meters to centimeters. If you look at your workbook, page 167, you will see the page is titled Converting Classroom Measurements. The word converting means changing. It's not changing the value, but it's changing the unit. So you're going to use your actual measurements from page 160. So you can go back and look at 160, and those are different objects that you estimated. And then you did an actual measurement of those objects, like your pencil or your notebook. You're going to convert your measurement to inches or centimeters. Record your conversion and show your work in the last column. So for the first object, it says the height of your desk or table from the floor. So if you have a desk at home, you can measure from the top of the table to the floor. Or if you're at a table like I am, you can just measure from the top of the table to the floor. You will measure it in feet and inches or meters and centimeters. And then you're going to convert it.